I sit with the lamp low. The room breathes in a slow evening rhythm. A small light blooms at the corner of the night. Shadows lie soft and even. I come here to read. I come with a gentle voice and a quiet heart. I come to keep watch with you for a little while. Rest begins with a single invitation. I invite you to settle. Make the place around you easy. Adjust a pillow. Fold a blanket just so. Let the phone lie face down. Let the noise of the day drift away. A simple act of placement signals safety. A small action tells the body, it is time to let go. Breathe in now. Breathe out. Take 2 more breaths like that. Each breath comes and goes. Each breath loosens a small knot. The shoulders uncurl. The jaw softens. The hands relax. The eyelids feel heavier in a kind way. The world can wait. The body can rest. I guide a slow survey. Start at the top of the head. Notice the scalp. Notice the temples. A gentle warmth moves there. Move attention down to the eyes. Let them sink slightly. No strain required. The face releases. Let the mouth part just a little. Let the tongue rest. Ears hear only the sound of the breath and my voice. No other pressing sound needs attendance. Continue down the neck. Unravel the collar. Feel the shoulders descend. A weight leaves them like a small bird taking flight. Scan further. The chest rises and falls. Each exhale is a small letting go. The hands rest by the side or on the blanket. Fingers open like petals. The spine lengthens without effort. The hips melt into support. The legs grow heavy and warm. The feet loosen. A calm settles into the ankles and swims down to the toes. All the joints find ease. The mind often keeps a small crowd of thoughts. They arrive like visitors at a late hour, each with a small suitcase of worry. I do not ask those visitors to leave all at once. I simply invite them to put their cases down. Tell them the house is closed for heavy thinking tonight. Let a soft basket be placed by the door for burden. Imagine setting each worry into that basket. Some stay. Some roll away. The basket is large and deep. It has room for everything that feels urgent. Place one thing into it now. Place another. Notice how the hands are steadier with each small offering. I want this time to be gentle and safe. There is no demand to perform, no task to complete. The evening has no checklist. It holds space instead. Mercy rests here like a warm shawl. Hope sits quietly by the window. Both are patient. Both are near. Matthew's words rest in this same gentleness. They come in a tone of neighborly comfort. They offer simple pathways back to peace. They are not loud. They do not push or coax with force. They remind of belonging and of being known. They remind that even in a crowded heart, there is room for quiet, for mercy, for rest. Imagine a small room in a familiar house. A single lamp throws gold across the page of a book. Outside, night brews a hush. Inside, hands fold a cloth. Inside, a voice reads slowly, line by line. That voice is mine tonight. I will move at a pace that lets the sentences sink. I will give space between phrases. I will leave room for a breath. for a thought, for a prayer that rises without any fuss. If the heart feels heavy, know that weight does not need to be hidden. I invite it close. Bring it into the light of these few moments. Lay it on the bed beside the book. Watch how the lamp's glow makes it softer. Names that press against the chest can be spoken softly in the mind. A name, a fear, an ache. Say it without urgency. Feel the shape of it. Imagine a hand, patient and sure, accepting that small stone. Nothing dramatic happens right away, but the stone becomes lighter simply because it is acknowledged. I will not lecture about answers. There is no need for long explanations. The evening is meant for healing rather than debate. Stories from Matthew unfold like slow steps on a path. Each step has space. Each step invites trust in small ways. They speak of mercy that arrives without fanfare. They speak of rest that does not ask for perfect courage. They speak of faith that is gentle and steady. Listen with soft ears. The voice that speaks from those pages is neighborly. It sits beside the weary. It meets the frightened with a calm face. It offers images of a shepherd tending sheep. It shows hands that reach out. It names the small kindnesses that make up daily salvation. The words teach a kind of close care. They teach that small rests are holy. They teach that mercy is often the quiet answer. Tonight, I read not to solve every question. I read to hold a lantern. I read to let the rhythm of language lay like a balm. Syllables can be salve. Phrases can be pillows. The cadence of reading slows the inner voice that runs too fast. The voice has permission to be still, to be small, to be quiet. If sleep comes, let it come. If it does not, let the rest be enough. Rest is not measured only by sleep. Silence, held with a steady breath, is rest. Quiet acceptance is rest. A gentle trust that the night will do its own work is rest. Take a moment to notice where the heart feels a particular pressure. Place a palm there if it helps. The warmth of the hand is a small prayer without words. It says, I am here. I am noticing. The body receives that attention. Tension loosens by the degree it is seen. Eyes may close. If they do, imagine a soft picture to anchor the mind, a slow stream, clear water. Leaves that float by. No hurry, no destination. The water knows its course. The stream does not argue with the stones. It finds a way around. So can the heart. We will keep things simple. There is no rush to understand. There is only an invitation to be present. The readings from Matthew will come in a steady line. I will read a passage. Then we will pause. I will offer a few gentle reflections. Nothing long, nothing complex. Just a soft note to rest upon. The purpose is to soothe, to restore a childlike ease with the truth that mercy is near. If a thought tries to crowd in, imagine it as a cloud passing. Watch it from a distance. Do not chase it. Do not wrestle. Let it move by. The breath holds the anchor. Each inhale draws in calm. Each exhale releases a bit of tension. If sleep moves you while I read, It will not disturb the rhythm. The voice will continue softly, like a lullaby at the edge of dream. You may wonder whether this promise of rest is realistic. It is not a magic cure. It is, however, a steady offer. One can accept it slowly. One can try it again another night. The habit of bringing the heart gently into the presence of mercy is a practice. It grows with kindness. It grows without pressure. I keep my tone low on purpose. The words are like warm tea. They spread slowly. They soothe the throat. They calm the inner churn. They do not demand mental gymnastics. Instead, they say breathe and be. Be small in this moment. Be safe. Be known. When I read, I allow pauses. Between lines there is a space. In that space, a thought may find rest. In that space, a memory may soften its edges. In that space, the heartbeat slows. The world of Matthew moves at a human pace. It uses images the heart recognizes. It invites mercy in the ordinary. It brings hope in simple acts. Tonight, if the heart carries regret, set it gently on the windowsill of this time. Let the moonlight soften its edges. If the heart carries fear, turn toward the warm lamp. Let light lay a hand across that fear. If the heart carries numbness, invite small curiosity. Ask a single soft question inwardly. What is most tender right now? The question is not an interrogation. It is a doorway to care. I promise not to burden the evening with heavy doctrine. The aim is comfort. The aim is healing. The aim is restful attention. The tone will remain soft. The reflections will remain brief. The focus will be on presence, mercy, and hope. These are the steady companions of nighttime reading. There is a movement that happens simply by listening. The voice becomes a thread. The thread ties the day into the night. It creates a seam where renovation can begin. Old hurts find new light. Small joys are remembered. A sense of being held grows without force. The heart may not fix everything immediately. That is not required. The work happens slowly. It happens in small releases, in softened shoulders, in the sinking of the lids, in a breath that lengthens. I will read with a rhythm that honors silence. Each phrase lands, then rests. After several passages, a guided reflection comes. It will be short. It will invite your own breathing and attention. It will not require analysis. It will ask only that the heart feel the offering of mercy. Before we begin the first passage, make one small promise to yourself, not a grand vow, a small pact. Promise to let this 1 hour be a refuge from proving worth. Let it be a place of receiving rather than earning. Let this time be an island where being is enough. You do not have to fix everything tonight. You do not have to have all the answers. You only need to come and rest. Close the hands loosely. Let the fingers uncurl. Relax the jaw. Soften the brow. Take 3 more careful breaths, each one slower than the last. Let each exhale carry away a little more of the day's tightness. The rhythm steadies. The body grows steady like a boat in a calm bay. When you feel ready, keep the eyes closed. If not, let them rest gently on a dim point. I will open the reading in the next part. I will read slowly and clearly. I will pause often so the words can settle. For now, stay with the hush. Stay with the lamp. Stay with the quiet promise of mercy and rest. The night is kind. The presence of Christ in Matthew's pages is gentle. Let it meet you here. Let this small hour be a deliberate tending of the heart. When the next part begins, I will speak the first passage. For now, breathe and listen to the silence between the breaths. Let that silence welcome you into rest. I turn the page. The lamp warms the paper. My voice eases into the lines. I read slowly. I leave space between sentences. I let each phrase sit like a small stone in still water. Matthew begins with a map of quiet hearts. He names those who carry grief. He points to the humble and the gentle. He does not promise a quick fix. He promises a presence. He invites rest to those who feel spent. I speak this as one who sits beside you. I do not explain everything. I hold the words as a lantern. Breathe in, breathe out. Let the first thought of the day float away. Imagine a soft path. The path is not steep. It is walked by people who move slowly. They do not rush to prove themselves. They simply come as they are. That is what the text asks. It asks for honesty. It asks for a small admission of need. The heart can be honest here. That honesty is a kind of healing. Matthew uses images from everyday life. He points to a shepherd who tends sheep. He points to a parent who cares for a child. He points to a farmer who trusts seeds. The images are small. They are close. They are meant to comfort. They tell us that the world includes care that moves quietly. The message rests in ordinary things. It says mercy often arrives in small, steady acts. I read a passage that leans into that mercy. It speaks of kindness that looks like patience. It speaks of mercy that meets mistakes without loud condemnation. I let the words wash over the room. I do not press them into arguments. I let them be a pillow. You are allowed to rest on them. A short pause now. Notice the heart. Notice if it tightens when mercy is named. Some tightness means memory. Some memory means care is needed. Place a hand lightly over that place. The warmth helps. The touch simply says, I see you. I keep watch with you. Matthew also speaks to worry. He points out how little control we really have over many small things. He looks at the birds and the flowers. He reminds that they live without our constant planning. The lesson is not a scolding. It is an invitation to reduce the load. It says you need not carry everything alone. The smaller burdens begin to lift when you trust that care exists beyond your grasp. Listen to that thought as if it were a soft bell. Let it ring once. Let it fade. You may have plans and lists. Those are fine. Tonight, set one list aside. Make one small promise to yourself. Allow this hour to be free of solving. Let the mind rest in the acceptance that not all things require immediate action. I move on to passages about prayer. The tone here is gentle and private. Matthew suggests a way of turning inward that is unshowy. The practice is humble. It is a soft, leaning toward what is near and faithful. It is not about loud words or long formulas. It is about a quiet opening of the chest. It is about trust that speaking the small things matters. It is about letting speech be brief and honest. Try a small prayer now. Not out loud, not in full sentences. Just a line in your mind that says, "Help me rest." Let that line sit. Do not try to judge it. The thought itself is the prayer. The simple act of naming a need invites a response. The response may feel like calm. The response may be a small easing in the shoulders. The response may be nothing dramatic. It may be a steadying breath. Mercy returns in Matthew as an active thing. It is not abstract. It shows up in forgiveness. It shows up in practical help. It shows up in the choice to stop measuring worth by strict scales. The teaching nudges toward a softer dealing with the faults of others and with our own faults. It does not call for perfection. It calls for humility. It invites us to repair small things with tenderness. Place a thought of someone you find difficult very lightly. Do not dredge old wounds. Just imagine a small light between you and that person. See the light as a bridge. It needs not be strong. It simply needs to exist. This is not approval of hurt. It is a practice of not letting bitterness grow too large in you. The practice is small. It reduces the power of the sting. Matthew uses tales of small beginnings that become large. He tells of seeds that grow quietly. He tells of a yeast that spreads through dough. The point is simple. Small faith, small acts of kindness, small rests. These can expand into something large. The promise here is hope that does not demand immediate proof. It asks for one modest step at a time. If the thought of growth feels heavy, think of a kitchen herb pot. A little plant needs only water and a soft place. You do not require grand performances. The daily small act of tending is enough. So it is with heart care. One small breath, one small confession, one small switch from judging to listening. Gradual work brings quiet change. There is a sternness in some of Matthew's warnings, but I do not read them as harshness. I read them as clarity. They are like a compass that points away from patterns that hurt. The voice wants release from cycles of blame. It wants to free the heart from wearing armor that chafes. The healthy direction is toward gentle honesty and compassionate action. Take a slow breath now. Notice any armor you wear. Let a small piece fall away. Maybe it is the need to always seem capable. Maybe it is the habit of swallowing words. Let one small piece go. The body is lighter already. Authenticity appears again and again. Matthew invites people to be sincere. He asks that religion or practice be lived quietly and truthfully. The house of faith, in this sense, is not a stage. It is a shelter. The shelter is built of truth that is humble. It welcomes the whole person, including cracks. The cracks let light in. I speak as someone who reads these words often. I notice my own cracks. I place them on the table beside the lamp. They are not shameful when brought here. They are human. The voice on the page teaches that a shared journey matters more than a show of perfection. Think of walking with another person at dusk. You do not talk all the time. You simply share the path. That sharing is how peace grows. You do not need answers. You need accompaniment. The words of Matthew often underscore this. He shows that companionship in simple acts is a way of making heaven near. Now imagine the small room again. The lamp, the book, the person reading aloud. Imagine you are not alone. There is a community of small lights. Some are near, some are far. They all breathe in the same evening air. The shared rhythm creates a kind of safety. You are part of it even if you do not speak. Presence is enough. A short reflection here if you feel lonely. Remember that small shared rituals matter. A bedtime reading, a short prayer, a cup of tea. These are threads that connect hearts. They are quiet, not noisy. They accumulate warmth over time. I will pause and let you breathe. In this pause, allow one honest thought. It may be gratitude. It may be sorrow. Name it softly in your mind. Do not expand it into a list. Let it have a small place. The act of noticing releases pressure. Matthew sometimes uses strong images to cut through clutter. He speaks of clearing out what blocks a straight path. I read this as an encouragement to remove small obstacles that prevent ease. It could be an old anger. It could be a kept secret. It could be a routine that is unkind to the body. Begin with one small clearing. Unload one item from your mental shelf. Watch the space feel more open. If sleep is near, let it come. If it is not, let contentment be enough. The aim tonight is not to fix everything. The aim is to steady the breath. The aim is to invite mercy into the small corners of the evening. Before I keep reading, I offer a gentle invitation. If these quiet hours ease you, you may choose to return. If you find comfort in this voice, consider making this a small habit. If you are online and it helps, subscribe so the next hour finds you again. If a friend would benefit from such quiet, share this time with them. Leave a small note if you wish. A few words help me know we are walking together. These requests are small. They carry no pressure. They are simply an offer to grow the circle of rest. I close the book for a breath. The lamp throws a slow circle of light. The room listens. I hold the intention to continue. The next passage will come soon. We will return to images of small mercy, uncomplicated trust, and the quiet work of forgiveness. For now, keep the breath steady. Keep the hand on the chest if it calms you. Let the night hold what needs tending. Let the words I read be like a soft net beneath a tightrope walk. The net is not a rescue plan for everything. It is a gentle assurance that you need not fall alone. When I reopen the book, I will choose another passage that nudges toward rest. I will speak slowly. I will leave long pauses. I will keep the reflection short. The goal is to allow the words to become a lullaby of sorts. The room will grow quieter. The heart will find a softer rhythm. I sign this time with a small promise. I will return to these pages again. I will read not to show answers but to hold space. I will listen with you. And I will speak with the same quiet care. For tonight, let the lamp keep watch. Let the breath continue its slow work. Let the presence of these words be enough. Turn your ear toward the hush. Stay with the lamp and the book. The next part will begin when you are settled. If sleep seeks you first, carry the sentences in the pocket of your dream. If you wake before I finish, know that these nights remain ready when you come back. I close this section with a gentle benediction. May you feel small grace tonight. May mercy find a soft seat beside you. May your honesty be met with kindness. Rest now, and let the quiet do its work. I turn the page again. The paper rests warm beneath my fingers. The lamp's circle is steady. Mi voice moves slowly. It keeps space between lines. I let each sentence sink into the quiet. Tonight, a simple invitation rests at the center of the reading. It is not a demand. It is a hand offered. It comes to those who are tired, who carry too much, who feel small under heavy skies. The invitation says, come and find rest. Come as you are. Leave what you cannot bear. The tone is soft. It does not shame. It welcomes. Listen to that idea as if it were a lullaby. Let the thought return like a tide. It meets the shore and then settles back. The promise holds steady. It does not change with the weather. It waits, patient and sure. Breathe in, breathe out. Place a palm lightly over the heart. Feel the warmth there. Imagine another hand, gentle and capable, resting beneath yours. There is no hurry in that hand. It does not pry. It simply receives. Each held breath grows a little easier. I paraphrase the invitation here. In small words, come to the one who offers rest. Find shelter in a presence that does not require display. Trade heavy burdens for a lighter steadiness. The yoke promised is not harsh. It is a way that fits the shoulder. It helps carry what otherwise would bow the back. This presence is like a small harbor. Boats arrive with sails tired and frayed. The harbor does not ask the sails to be perfect. It only gives calm water and a safe rope. Ships may unload what they must. Men may step down and stand barefoot on the dock. The harbor is simply there, low and reliable. It is not trying to fix everything at once. It holds. Picture a room with a low window and soft rain at the panes. The rain is constant and simple. Inside, a fire is kept just warm enough. The fire knows the shape of the house. It does not judge the damp clothes. It warms them slowly. So is the love that waits. It meets dampness with warmth, and the body relaxes. Sometimes love here seems quiet because it is steady. It does not need to shout to prove itself. It returns again and again. It keeps small appointments. It remembers little things others forget. It trusts rather than tests. That steadiness becomes its own comfort. There are nights when the chest feels crowded with many small stones. Each thought clinks against the other. The stones may be guilty memories, worries about tomorrow, names of people who are hard to forgive, regrets that will not quiet. Take one stone, hold it in the hand for a moment. Notice its roughness. Say its name inwardly. Then, without force, Imagine placing that stone into an open palm that is larger and sure. Feel the weight lessen. Do not expect an immediate unburdening. The hand that receives does not work like a machine. It receives with patience. The relief sometimes comes as a small loosening. Shoulders drop. Breath lengthens. A tiny space opens where there had been no room. Presence often feels less like a dramatic rescue and more like neighborly attention. A neighbor brings soup. A neighbor sits on the porch. It is enough. The heart learns that fidelity in the small things matters. A daily warmth can outlast many storms. The promise of rest is not a rule that measures worth. It is an offer to cease the proving. It does not require a performance. It asks only honesty and a willingness to receive. The first small act is to admit weariness. That admission is not weakness. It is a doorway. If the mind searches for reasons why weariness arrived, allow curiosity without accusation. Where does the weight sit? Where is the ache concentrated? Ask that gently. And then let the answers be simple. Acknowledge them. Set them down. One by one, the light will make each less sharp. Sometimes presence arrives as a quiet companion who carries a blanket. The blanket is ordinary. It smells faintly of lavender or of the first rain. It covers without smoothing away the lines. The edges rest on knees. The companion sits and does not demand conversation. Sitting quietly can be an act of profound love. Matthew's words about rest emphasize gentleness. They are not an ultimatum. They are an embrace. The invitation recognizes human frailty. It accepts limits. It offers an alternative to the habit of carrying everything until the spine bends. It offers a living room where exhaustion may be laid upon a chair and watched over. Consider the idea of an anchor. The anchor holds a vessel steady in changing water. The anchor does not move with every wave. It keeps the boat from drifting toward rocks. To accept rest is to drop an anchor of trust. It is not a denial of movement. It simply chooses a steady center while storms blow. Trusting this kind of presence need not feel risky. It can begin with small tests. Try letting one small worry go tonight. Let it roll into the palm that waits. Notice the result. Often the worry resumes a softer shape. The habit of holding everything is hard to break. Begin with one small release. The love that holds is not conditional on being worthy of it. It has no ledger of perfect deeds. It notices the bruises before the accomplishments. It tends to the scraped knee without first demanding an essay on cause. That is the kind of mercy that meets the tired heart. Its practice is immediate and simple. If anger sits like a knot, imagine that knot unwinding by the heat of the hand that receives it. The knot does not vanish quickly. It loosens strand by strand. Loosen one strand tonight. Let the rest follow over time. Small mercies accumulate. I read with tenderness to show how words can become rest. The cadence matters. Slow syllables act as slow lanterns along a path. They do not force the feet. They show where to step. In the quiet, small truths become bridges. Do not feel the need to answer all questions now. Some questions remain in the dark for a while. Leave them there. They will be held. The presence that stands for rest does not require full clarity. It keeps company with doubt, without using it as a whip. It allows the heart to wrestle and sleep within the same night. If there is fear of being abandoned in weakness, consider the image of a road that has been walked by many feet. The footprints show that others have come and stayed. They have leaned on the same fence post. They have pressed the same dust into the path. Presence is not new each time. It is familiar. It waits in known places. Practice a short habit now. Close the eyes if that helps. Inhale for a count of 3. Hold for a gentle second. Exhale slowly. With each exhale, picture a small stone moving from the chest into the outstretched hand. Repeat 3 times. See how the body answers. See how the heart yields. The words of Matthew guide toward a life shaped by mercy. Mercy shapes the way we see ourselves. It shapes the way we see others. It suggests that the world is not a ledger, but a home. In a home, people bring messy things. They also find mending. That idea could become the measure of rest. There will be mornings when the armor returns. That is normal. Armor is useful at times. It can be heavy, too, when it grows heavy again. Come back to this harbor. Drop even one strap. Let the present warmth remind the muscles how to loosen. I read and hold silence between phrases. Those pauses are invitations. Use them. Let the heartbeat mark the space. Let the quiet answer with a small easing. The reading is a pattern of offering and receiving. It is not a lesson to master. It is a rhythm to adopt. As the evening deepens, allow gratitude to settle near the rest. Gratitude here is not a forced list. It is a quiet noticing of one small kindness, perhaps a cup of warmth in the afternoon, perhaps a brief smile. Name one small kindness softly in the mind. Let it live beside the place where weariness rests. When sleep edges near, accept it. Sleep and rest are cousins. Both come from the same invitation to stop performing. Let the body fold like a paper boat into a slow current. If sleep does not come, keep returning to the image of a steady hand. Let that be enough. I will read further in the next part. The next passages will keep this tone. They will not press theology into heavy shapes. They will unfold more images of shelter, slow mercy, and small practices of trust. For now, remain with the palm over the chest. Feel the steady warmth. Let the thought of being invited into rest settle as a fact, not a performance. Before I close this section, make one small promise to yourself. Promise to try this single act again tomorrow night. Promise to let one small worry go into that open hand. Promise to return to the harbor when the world pushes hard. The promise is tiny. It is enough. I lower my voice still more. The lamp dims slightly as if to match the pulse of breath. The room grows friendlier to sleep. The presence I read about is not distant. It sits near the bedside, patient and slow. In that presence, the heart can unclench. Rest now. Let the promise of unwavering love be like a soft blanket around the shoulders. Let the knowledge of being invited be the first pillow under the head. When I reopen the book, we will move forward together. For this moment, simply be held. Let the quiet do its work. I turn the page with a small, careful motion. The lamp keeps a constant circle of light. The paper warms under my hand. I speak slowly and plainly. My aim is rest. My aim is mercy. Tonight, I pause on a simple teaching from Matthew. It speaks about forgiveness. It links giving forgiveness and receiving it. The idea is gentle and urgent at once. Letting go of grudge opens a space inside. That space can hold peace. Forgiveness is not a performance. It is a small, private work. It begins with seeing the hurt. Name it without drama. Say the shape of that hurt in the quiet of your mind. The act of naming does not make the wound worse. It simply brings the thing into light. Light softens edges. Next, keep the boundary that keeps you safe. Forgiveness does not require returning into dangerous places. Safety matters. Mercy does not mean recklessness. Let the distinction be clear. Forgiveness works on the inside. Boundaries protect the outside. Then, practice the releasing. Picture the memory of hurt as a stone. It may have weight. It may have sharp corners. Hold it for a moment. Notice its temperature. Now imagine placing that stone on the edge of a river. The river is steady and patient. Let the current take the stone slowly. Watch it go. There is no collapsing of justice in this image. There is simply a movement away from carrying. I have watched grudges sit in people like small furniture in a crowded room. They take up valuable space. They catch the light in ugly ways. Removing them changes the shape of the room. Removing them does not mean pretending nothing happened. Removing them frees the pathways of breath and attention. Another image helps sometimes. Imagine a bird that wants to be free. The bird sits in an open hand. Fear tightens the fingers. The bird will not fly. Loosen the fingers, and the bird chooses to go. That loosened hand is the act of forgiveness. It is not giving permission to continue harm. It is letting the bird have its life. You keep your safe place. You do not remain captive to the cage of the grudge. Forgiveness also heals the forgiver. It is a medicine that tastes strange at first. The first dose might sting. Later doses make the body warmer. The chest grows roomier. Sleep comes more easily. The mind stops rehearsing scenes like a worn play. There is less grinding of teeth at night. Matthew frames this as part of how mercy works. He draws a mirror. The mirror shows that a willingness to forgive is a way into receiving forgiveness. That is not an ethical bargaining trick. It is a simple human law when hands let go. Other hands can take hold. The heart that closes tight cannot at the same time receive a gentle touch. When someone still feels dangerous, forgiveness can be an internal act only. It might be a refusal to feed the anger, a nightly fire. It might be a decision to stop narrating the hurt to oneself at bedtime. These small, steady choices of forgiveness in practice. They are quiet rebellions against the habit of replaying harm. Do not confuse forgiveness with forgetting. Memory can be faithful without being vengeful. Keeping a careful watch is wise. Forgiveness removes the desire for retaliation. It loosens the knot. It does not dissolve the lesson. If bitterness has braided itself into daily routines, Begin with one small undoing. Let one afternoon pass without turning the hurt into a commentary. Let one conversation be clean of references to an old injury. Small interruptions start new habits. Habit changes the mind over time. Try a short exercise with me now. Breathe in slowly for 3 counts. Hold for a small moment. Breathe out long and quiet. Imagine a narrow road with many stones on it. Each stone is a remembered slight. Pick one stone. Name it in a single word in your mind. Place the stone into a small basket at the road's edge. Picture the basket carried away by someone kind. Watch the road become a little clearer. Repeat twice more. Notice how the chest shifts. If release feels impossible, be gentle with the limit. Some rocks are lodged deep. Begin by loosening the soil around them. A patient hand works better than a violent pull. Forgiveness is often slow. Slow is honest. Slow does not mean failure. Forgiveness also grows compassion for the self. We tend to be our own harshest judges. The same work that loosens a grudge toward another can soften the inner critic. Try offering to yourself the same small mercy you imagine for someone else. Sit with that. Avoid theatrical pity. Offer simple recognition the self is tired. The self is trying. Often, I read these lines from Matthew before sleep. They remind me to check pockets of the heart. I look for small bills of resentment. I fold them and place them in a drawer. Sometimes I must reopen the drawer in later nights. Forgiveness is not one time. It is a practice. Like daily washing of hands, forgiveness invites a lightness into prayer. When the heart is less cluttered, words come easier. Silence becomes less anxious. The kneeling, even when done lying in bed, feels like entering a clear room. The posture you have matters less than the posture you carry inside. I breathe with you as I say this. My own hands keep learning this practice. There are nights when old rancor returns at the edge of sleep. There are nights when memory sharpens into complaint. Then I return to the river image. I return the stone. I breathe. The night offers another chance to let go. Now I turn the page to the next part of the reading. I move from the work of letting go into the quieter work of experiencing a presence. This is the next step. Forgiveness clears a place. Presence sits there. I settle into the lines that speak of nearness. I mean to guide, no spectacle. I mean to describe the small ways the soul knows it is not alone. Presence here is not loud. It does not thunder. It sits like a warm cup on the bedside table. It is close enough to touch. Begin with the breath. The breath is a simple invitation home. Breathe in slowly. Notice the cool air at the nostrils. Breathe out. Notice the warm air that leaves. Each cycle is a small handshake between fear and calm. The breath is a bridge to presence. Presence often arrives in tiny ways. A memory of kindness, a quiet answer to a soft prayer, a sudden ease in the jaw, a song that rises from the kitchen without announcement. These are small indicators. They are not proof in a legal sense. They are enough for the night. I invite a listening that is light and patient. Close the eyes if that helps. Ask one small question inwardly. It does not need an answer. The question simply opens a window. Where? Expect a simple reply. The reply may not be words. It may be a thought that is kinder than the worry. It may be a calm in the stomach. That is presence. Often presence feels like companionable silence. Two people walk along a lane and do not speak. The absence of words is not absence of care. It is a shared breathing. The same is true when you turn toward God in the evening. Silence becomes an offering. The offering returns as warm steadiness. Ritual helps. A small sequence repeated nightly trains attention. I read a passage. I pause it. I speak a quiet line of thanks. I place a hand on the chest. These acts are not magic. They are reminders. Repetition builds a road of trust. Notice where the body meets the bed. Feel the weight of the blanket. Let awareness land on the feet, the calves, the knees. Move slowly upward. Give each part a brief greeting. Thank you for carrying me today. This motion is small. It creates a kind interior space for presence to rest. Presence also lives in the ordinary mercy of simple things. A neighbor's light in a window. A letter with a few kind lines. A cup of tea made with attention. These do not replace spiritual nearness. They are signs of the same reality showing itself through fellow human care. If worry tugs at the sleeve of the evening, do not fight it with argument. Offer it a small seat. Tell it you will listen in the morning. For now, hold it gently and say that rest is permitted. I say this to myself often. The mind wants to prove its usefulness. It must be trained to sit in the waiting room sometimes. Listening for presence can be practiced as a simple art. Spend 2 minutes tonight in quiet attention. Breathe with evenness. Notice one sensation. It might be the sound of the street far off. It might be the weight of a pillow. Sit with that sensation. When the mind wanders, return to the single thing. The practice trains the heart to notice the nearness that often hides behind the noise. Presence is also practical. It shows up as a guiding nudge toward kindness. It arises as a clear thought about an act that will not make headlines but will mend a small edge in a life. These quiet promptings are ways mercy moves through ordinary choices. There will be nights when presence feels distant. That is part of human seasons. Presence is not a feeling that can be forced. In those thin nights, keep the small rituals. Keep breathing. Keep reading. Keep the lamp lit enough to see the page. Presence meets repeat visits. It grows familiar to those who return. I read the Bible aloud with a steady tone. The cadence of the reading itself is an entry into presence. The language shapes a room. It is a room built of words that encourage rest. When I read, I do not aim to fix the world. I aim to make a safe space for the heart to notice what is near. A small exercise before sleep may help. Sit or lie still. Place one hand on the heart. Breathe slowly. Name inwardly 5 things that feel gentle tonight. They need not be large. A warm cup, a lamp left burning, a neighbor's kindness. The mind's list will be simple. Let each item sink like a pebble into a quiet pool. Notice the rings of calm that spread. Presence rests not only in feeling but in promise. The words of Matthew point to a steady character of mercy. That character surrounds the night with a posture that does not abandon. It watches in the small hours. It tends what is broken. Often without announcement. If sleep comes now, carry the sense of this nearness into the dream. If sleep lingers, remain with the hush. The presence I speak of does not demand theatrical proof. It waits in the small, recurring acts of attention that calm the breath. Before I close this section, make a tiny vow to yourself. Promise a return to this bedside reading for a night or two more. Let the habit be small. Let it be doable. Faith grows in small repetitions. Sudes trust. I lower my voice as the lamp seems to bend towards sleep. The pages rest, warm and soft. The presence that forgiveness cleared space for sits quiet and steady. It is not gone if the mind grows loud. It sits like a dim lamp in the next room. It is there when the doors open. Rest now. Let the work of releasing and the quiet of presence weave together. Let the breath deepen. Let the heart unclench by degrees. I will read again. The next part will come with the same slow care. For tonight, be near the light and the promise. Let mercy meet you here. I turn the page with the same slow care. The lamp keeps its small circle of light. The room is quiet. My voice sits soft on the paper. I read in a tone that matches the hour. I move gently now toward a thought that Matthew brings. It rests in a single, simple impression: there is a blessing for those who admit they are empty. The phrase is not complicated. It asks only that we see our need. Humility is not a public show. It is not a performance for an audience. Humility begins in a small, private way. It starts when I stop pretending to carry more than I do. It starts when I let the hands unclench. It happens at the bedside, in the hush, when I admit the day has left me thin. I say this quietly because we often make humility into something heavy. We imagine it as a musty cloak. We fear that it will shrink us. But the humility Matthew speaks of is more like opening a hand. It is the posture of being ready to receive. It is like standing under a steady rain with an open cup. The rain fills the cup. The filling is grace. Grace here feels like warmth settling into the hollow places. I picture a pot on a wheel. My hands are on the clay. I let the pot turn, and I shape it with the gentlest touch. When I try too hard, the clay fights me. When I let the wheel run, and I follow with soft fingers, the pot grows even. Humility is that soft following. It is a way of working with a life that does not demand control. It trusts that the hands that spin the wheel know the measure. Breathe in. Breathe out. Place the palm up for a moment. Feel the light on the skin. Imagine that palm as a small bowl. In that bowl, set a single word of honest need. It can be tired. It can be anxious. It can be empty. Do not dress it up. Just name it in a single soft thought. The act of naming is a small door. It invites something in. When I read Matthew, I watch for that invitation. The words are not a test. They are a soft call. They say, bring your small, honest need. Come as you are. Leave the mask at the door. That kind of admission brings an answering presence. The presence does not shame. It meets and tends. It invites repair, not blame. Imagine a dry garden. The soil cracks and looks hard. You cannot force it to drink. You loosen it first. You turn it gently. Then you pour water. The water goes where the soil is loose. Humility is the turning. It allows grace to soak in. Pride keeps the ground crusted. Humility creates a place for rain. There is also a quiet courage in this kind of humility. It takes courage to stop pretending. It takes courage to admit that some burdens cannot be balanced alone. That admission is not weakness. It is a kind of truthful strength. It takes less energy than the continual act of performance. The relief comes simply because pretending is tiring. I read and feel my own resistance to this practice. I sometimes keep a suitcase of competence by the bed. It is packed with reasons and solutions. I tell myself to hold on to it because I might need it tomorrow. Tonight, I set the suitcase down. I slide the zipper closed. The motion costs nothing. The shoulders soften. The back straightens in a way that is not rigid but easy. Humility, when practiced, changes the shape of prayer. It makes prayer small and honest. I do not need long words or clever phrases. A single sentence, as simple as I am, tired is enough. A brief help me is not childish. It is vital. The practice of honest speech toward God opens the heart to a mercy that is not performance-based. It is receiving rather than bargaining. Try a short exercise. Close the eyes if that helps. Breathe slowly. Picture a cup on the bedside table. In your mind, pour into that cup the one thing you are most reluctant to name aloud. Let the thought settle. Now, imagine someone taking the cup and pouring from it a warm, clear liquid that fills not only the cup but spills a comfortable warmth into the hands that held it. Feel the loosened tension in the hands as the cup is returned. Now warm and full. The picture is simple. It trains the heart to expect giving when it opens. This truth about grace and humility touches the way I live with others. When I confess my smallness, I find I judge less. I see other people as made of the same frail wood I am. When I let my own need be visible, others feel permission to let theirs show. The group grows softer. It becomes a room where people can be small without being small-minded or weak. Humility also keeps things clear at night. Pride inflates worries. It makes small failures look like catastrophes. Humility reduces the drama. It puts things in proportion. A missed call is a call missed. A harsh word is a hurt, not an identity. In the dim hour, this reduction matters. It allows sleep to come without curiosity, turning into worry. There is a gentleness in how grace meets the humble. It is not theatrical. It does not break the sky with thunder. It arrives as a neighbor bringing bread. It arrives as a hand steadying a lamp. It is mercy in practical, small ways. A needed thought occurs at the right time. A friend remembers with a simple note. A small courage returns in the morning. These are the ways grace moves when humility opens the door. Humility is not the same as self-degradation. It does not ask me to deny the good things that have happened. It asks only for clarity. I can be grateful for a gift and still hold my need. I can celebrate a success and still admit fear. The balance keeps the heart from tipping into either vanishing or boasting. I remind myself to admit need is not to become needy. Need and dignity can live together. The two are not enemies. They sit at the same table, sharing a small lamp. When I accept help, I do not become less interesting. I become human. I become more reachable. Sometimes, humility looks like silence. It is the choice to listen rather than to correct. It is the willingness to hold back a helpful remark so that another voice can be heard. In the quiet hours, such small acts transform relationships. They clear space for healing talk when the time is right. They teach a habit of attention that becomes a soft language among people who care. In the quiet of the night, I also think of the weight of my mistakes. Humility allows me to name them without sinking into despair. It lets me say, "Here is what I did. I am sorry." The apology is not a grand speech. It is a small light. It brings things back into a place where they can be fixed. Pride leaves the brokenness hidden. Humility shows it and invites mending. There is a particular tenderness toward weakness in the teaching I read. It insists that the broken places are not disqualifying. On the contrary, they are where grace prefers to sit. The poor in spirit are not pushed away. They are noticed. Eyes find the small and weary. Compassion bows down to the place that seems least acceptable in the world's tally. That is a thought to rest upon. I breathe with intention now. Inhale. Feel the chest rise. Exhale. Let the shoulders fall. Imagine the soul as a house with many rooms. Pride shutters some windows. Humility opens them. The fresh air comes in. The stale smell of self-reliance lifts. The house does not collapse. It becomes livelier. If the mind objects, let it speak briefly and then gently lay it down. The mind may say that need will be exploited, that fear has logic. Keep the boundary that protects. Trusting humility does not mean giving away your safety. It means choosing where to share the inner ledger. It means selecting trusted hands to hold the list. Start small. Give one trusted person one small thing. See how it goes. If the trust is honored, the circle can widen. If it is not, the boundary remains necessary and firm. There is a steady rhythm to returning to humility. It is not once and done. Each day offers a small chance to stop pretending. Each night invites the check-in at the bedside. What did I try to carry alone today? What can I set down? The habit grows like a soft daily muscle. The more I do it, the easier it becomes. Matthew's way of teaching is patient. It circulates images that allow the mind to rest in uncomplicated pictures. The image of emptiness as the beginning of receiving is one of those pictures. Emptiness, when honest, is the right shape for grace. The empty bowl on the table is not a failure. It is the shape readiness takes. I invite you to try a tiny practice before sleep. Lay your hand on the chest. Think of one small need. Say it in a single line in the mind. Keep it short. Imagine placing that need into an open hand that waits without judgment. Feel the warmth there. Let the breath deepen. Allow a soft easing to happen. If sleep claims you, carry this openness into the dream. Humility changes the way I see my own limits. It makes them less like fences and more like doorways. A limit can be an instruction. Here is the place where I will not go tonight. It invites rest instead of repetition. The body and the heart both thank the choice to stop. As I close this passage, I keep the lamp low. I hold the image of the open palm. I keep my voice as a soft companion. The night is long and kind. Grace waits for honest hands. It does not require a polished resume to accept a tired heart. Before I move on, make a small promise to yourself. Tomorrow night, try the simple practice again. It takes only a breath and a named need. Do not demand transformation. Ask only for the small presence of comfort. Let the practice be a steady, gentle thing. I will read more in the next part. I will not press for answers. I will bring more images that help the heart accept kindness. For now, let the quiet do its work. Let humility become, in small steps, a way back to rest. Let grace find the place you have opened by admitting the truth of your need. Rest now. Let mercy meet the empty hand. I lift the book and let the lamp lean closer. The pages whisper as they turn. The room breathes with the slow hush of evening. My voice settles into the lines. It keeps the pace of a quiet footfall. Tonight I linger on a tender theme, the gentle presence of Jesus. The presence I mean is not dramatic. It does not arrive with thunder. It is a nearness that steadies the heart in small ways. Imagine a hand laid at the small of the back while walking down an unfamiliar path. The hand does not shove. It guides. That is the nearness I speak of. It is simple. It is sure. I notice how the mind often drafts plans for a future that feels too big. Plans become ladders that tremble in the dark. The thought of tomorrow stacks bricks in the chest. The teaching I read reminds the listener to ease that building. It says, "Do not pile tomorrow's load onto tonight's shoulders. Trust that provision meets the day as it comes. Each morning will have enough care to fill it. Tonight, hold only this present breath." Say that thought slowly in the mind. Let it land like a feather. The instruction is not an escape from responsibility. It is an invitation to live within the measure given. It asks for one honest decision. Carry today's weight. Today. Let tomorrow be its own day. This is not an excuse to neglect the future. It is a way to keep tonight from being overwhelmed by what is not yet. I often picture tomorrow as a folded map. When the map is open, it covers the whole table and makes the room feel small. Folding the map restores space. Fold tomorrow gently and set it aside. The map remains available. It can be consulted at daylight. For now, let the table hold only what the lamp can touch. The image of birds and fields helps here. Small creatures do not hoard worry about a season not yet come. They trust the rhythm of food and weather as it arrives. The lesson is not to imitate birds thoughtlessly. It is to learn that constant fretting about what is distant does not add supply to the present. A steady trust allows the hands to do the work before them, not to clench over what might be. In the stillness, notice the chest. It moves in, it moves out. Each breath is enough for this moment. Let the breath be a tiny litmus test for worry. When the mind rushes ahead, draw one long in-breath and follow with a slow out-breath. Picture the worry as a loose thread pulled from a sweater. With the exhale, the thread slides back in. The sweater returns to shape. The worry loses its snagging power. I read to offer a pattern of rest as much as to offer words. The pattern is small and repeatable. It begins with naming one thing that belongs to tomorrow. State it briefly in the head. Then imagine folding that thought like a soft handkerchief and tucking it into a pocket that can be opened tomorrow. The act is symbolic, but it helps. It makes the mind practice trust in small steps. There is a kind of trust that moves slowly. It is not blind faith in impracticality. It is a trust that cultivates calm for action. When the mind is quieter, plans are clearer, decisions are kinder, the hands make steadier work. Providence is not a substitute for preparation. It is a companion for preparation that refuses to let fear be the driver. Sometimes the heart resists this gentling because the future feels dangerous. That resistance is understandable. A careful boundary can live beside trust. Keeping safe is not the opposite of having faith. The practice is to hold both together, set reasonable precautions, and simultaneously refuse the tyranny of fear. Imagine a gardener who plants supports around young shoots and then lets rain fall on them without rigid worry. The supports protect. The rain nourishes. Another small exercise helps. Lie back and feel the bed. Support the weight of the body. Name one practical thing done today that will help tomorrow. For example, a list left on the bedside table, a message sent, a meal prepared. Acknowledge it briefly. Then let the rest of tomorrow's tasks remain closed inside the folded map. This permits the nervous mind to feel a small completion and then return to rest. The gentle presence of Jesus often appears in the way ordinary things are tenderly held. It shows up as a quiet thought that arrives in the middle of a worry and softens it. It appears as a sudden memory of a small kindness. It feels like a steadying look that meets the eye in a crowded room. It is close, like the warmth from the lamp when the house is otherwise dark. I describe this presence with quiet images because grand images can startle. The nearness, lays down beside the noise and does not overhaul the house. It learns the shape of the sleeping room. It moves the thrown blanket back over the shoulders. It hums a low pattern that the mind recognizes as safe. Such a presence does not remove all trouble. It changes the way trouble is born. Permit one small breath work now. Inhale for 3 slow counts. Hold for 1 gentle pause. Release for 5 counts. As the breath leaves, imagine the shoulders dropping a hair. The technique is not a cure. It is a practice of recentering. The same practice used nightly trains the body to respond. Habits shape the heart as much as thoughts do. I read passages that point toward mercy, filling a sufficiency for each day. That sufficiency looks like the sun rising and giving light in measure for the day's tasks. It is not extravagant theater. It is adequate light. The day then becomes an invitation to work with that light. The teaching encourages attention to the present measure, not a forecast of lacking. When worry claws, a small ritual can be soothing. Keep a plain stone by the pillow. When the mind loops to tomorrow, pick up the stone. Feel its weight and texture. Say inwardly, a single short line, one day at a time. Do not try to persuade the thought away. Let the stone be a reminder that the body can hold some weight and hand some back. The stone trains fingers to release. The presence also comes as reassurance when action is needed. It nudges towards small, steady choices rather than frantic flurries. It suggests tending what is close: a relationship, a task, a small apology. Such tending often changes the map of tomorrow more than a frantic attempt at control ever could. The work that matters is generally the work one can reach at arm's length. Another image I carry is of a lamp left at the window through the night. The lamp gives a small circle of sure light. It does not illuminate the whole horizon, but it offers a place to return. That lamp is the steady nearness of care. It allows navigation in the dark without panic. In the night, it is enough to see the next step. Make that metaphor real in the bedside habits: a single lamp, a short reading, a quiet prayer or thought. The ritual is a lamp. I keep the reflections short because the night gives space to live inside them. Long arguments are ill-suited to this hour. A few soft sentences settle more kindly. Think of 3 things that are true. In this moment, the lamp is warm. The bed supports the body. Breath continues. 3 small truths anchor the mind against speculative storms. When fear of tomorrow insists on staying, gently test it. Ask what action is possible now. If something can be done, do it calmly. If nothing can be done, fold the map and trust that dawn will bring fresh hands. That distinction between actionable items and imagined catastrophes is often the quiet hinge that lets sleep in. The gentle presence of Jesus also appears in the practice of blessing the coming day in a very small way. No long ceremony is required. A short inward line of intention helps that tomorrow's steps be guided toward grace, that enough be provided. The habit is like marking a garment with a little stitch. It does not hold the world together, but it links a bit of hope to the day. I watch how this practice alters small evenings. Worry loses its insistence to stay up like a guard. The heart can put on light clothing rather than armor. The body can soften. The mind can rest into a mode where planning becomes calmer. Choices clearer. Sleep more available. Do not be harsh with the mind if it returns to fretting. It is human. Return to the breath, to the lamp, to the folded map. Each return trains the heart more gently. The habit grows without a harsh instructor. It grows because the steps are manageable and because the presence offering rest is consistent. As the book rests open again, my voice slows a degree. I remind myself that presence keeps company with discipline, not with avoidance. Tidy one small thing before bed if it helps a tray cleared. A list set beside the lamp. Such small acts are not capitulation to worry. They are practical bridges from concern to surrender. If sleep comes slowly, allow it to come. If wakefulness continues, stay with these small rituals. The lamp and the breath will not abandon the bedside. The gentle nearness that reads the lines will move at the same human pace and will not demand sudden triumph. Before closing this part, make a tiny promise that is easy to keep. Tomorrow morning, notice one small provision: the taste of a warm drink, a clear moment between tasks, a kind word from someone, Let the noticing be the measure of trust. It trains the eye to find the daily supply and to remember the smallness of tonight's burden. I place the book back down with care. The lamp throws a last soft glow across the page. The nearness I have been naming sits like a low lamp in the next room. It is close enough to touch if the hand will reach. Rest. Now, let the breath slow. Let tomorrow remain folded for a while. The presence that is gentle will hold the night and the day with equal grace. When I read again, I will return to the same slow gentleness and carry more of this calm into the quiet hours. The lamp is low. The room breathes the same slow evening rhythm. The book lies open on my lap. My voice moves in small steps. Tonight the text leans toward an image of a small boat on a rough sea. The scene is simple. The lesson that grows from it is plain and steady trust, calm storms. I picture a boat with tired people inside. The wind presses against the mast. Waves lift and fall like something taking its breath. The night is loud. Hands strain on the ropes. Inside the boat, muscles harden and the jaw sets. The mind races with the next imagined wave. That picture may be your picture tonight in some form. The tasks of tomorrow, the memory that circles, the unnamed anxiety that wakes the chest. Listen as I paraphrase without haste. In the story, the one they trust is near. The trusted presence is not bent out of shape by the elements. It is steady. It rests with a calm that is not careless. The storm meets a quiet word and the water begins to smooth. The wind unthreads itself from the sails like a ribbon coming loose. The noise recedes. A great stillness settles across the surface. The people who had been shouting find their voices small. The heart slows. The body receives a larger breath. Trust is not a trick. It is a posture. It is choosing to hand over a particular tension to a presence that has shown care. The choice is small in the doing. It requires a moment of admission. The admission says, I cannot keep this in perfect balance by myself. The admission opens a hand. That open hand is the beginning of a different piece. Imagine now that you are in the boat. Feel the bench beneath you. Hear the water slap the hull. Let the small sounds come into the room of your attention without forcing them to go away. Do not pretend they are not loud. They are real. Name one thing aloud in your mind, a single worry, a single unpleasant thought. Do not expand it into a list. Keep it small. The act of naming is a kind of trust. It is the first step toward release. Place a palm over the named worry, as if placing it into a waiting hand. The waiting hand is patient. It is not demanding. It accepts without tallying faults or setting conditions. Picture the hand closing gently around the worry. Feel how the fingers neither squeeze nor pry. They simply hold. The hard edge of the anxiety loses some of its harshness when it is held, rather than spun upon incessantly. Slow breathing helps the body follow the mind. Breathe in for a count of 3. Hold for a gentle pause. Breathe out for 5 counts. Repeat twice or 3 times. With each out-breath, let the shoulders sink a hair. Let the jaw unclench a little more. Notice how stillness can start as a small thing. It grows when tended. Trust is often trained in small acts. A habit of placing one worry into that open hand nightly is like teaching the body to sleep in a safe bed. Start with one small thing tonight. Choose one small fear. Lay it into the open palm. Watch, in imagination, how the water calms. The scene in the story repeats itself in the inner life. The thunder quiets when the heart chooses a particular still point. There are practical steps that make this practice real. Keep a plain stone by the lamp. When thoughts press, pick up the stone. Let the fingers feel its weight and texture. Say, inwardly, a short line this for tonight. Then place the stone back. Repeat if needed. The stone becomes a tactile signal that trains the hands to let go. Over time, it becomes a ritual of trust. Another small practice is to write one worry on a scrap of paper. Fold the paper twice. Place it in the pocket of your nightclothes or tuck it beneath the pillow. The movement turns anxiety into a tangible object that can be held and set aside. The mind likes things to be somewhere, not floating like loose coins. Putting worry into a pocket rehouses it, and the body can relax into the knowledge that a practical step has been taken. Trust also needs the boundary of common sense. It is not a license for passivity. Anchors are used. Nets are mended. Plans are made. The calm I speak of does not mean leaving everything to chance. The practice is to do what should be done, and then to stop lifting tomorrow's burden into tonight. Make a small list of necessary tasks for tomorrow. Set the list by the lamp. Close the notebook. Fold the map. Doing so is not neglecting duty. It is refusing the tyranny of worry. The story's gentle touch reminds that presence accompanies action. The one in the boat does not remove the necessity of steering. The presence steadies the hand that steers. It clears the mind that decides. That is part of what trust does. It reorders energy from frantic endurance to calm care. The tasks that matter become clearer when the heart is not shaking. Sometimes trust feels risky. The mind protests. It remembers times when reliance failed. Be gentle with that memory. The practice begins with small tests. Offer one small thing tonight for safekeeping. If the care is honored, widen the circle of trust by degrees. If pain returns, keep the boundary crisp. The presence that calms is not careless of safety. It meets caution and mercy with equal clarity. There is mercy in being allowed to be afraid. The story does not shame fear. It shows that fear beside trust moves differently than fear alone. Fear in the presence of someone steady finds room to breathe. The chest loosens. Thoughts stop acting like a racing engine. The body understands that being frail is not disqualifying. Imagine a lighthouse across the water. It throws a slow, dependable beam. It does not banish the night. It simply marks a place to aim toward. Trust is like that beam. It does not remove every hazard, but it gives a steady point around which motion can be regulated. The simplest course corrections become possible. The heart learns not to spin into panic, but to turn toward the light. Practice a moment of mental imagery. Now, picture the sea's surface smoothing. Feel the wind dropping to a whisper. Let that whisper travel across the skin like a small hand. The stillness is not an absence, but a rearrangement of attention. Where once all senses clamored, Now one gentle focus steadies the rest. Trust is not the absence of questioning. It is an orientation. The mind can still ask, how will this be done? The body can set reasonable safeguards. The heart, however, can rest in a companion who has shown care before. The story I read invites a memory of past small mercies. Name one quiet kindness that arrived in some hard season. Let that memory be a proof. Gentle and not theatrical. That you have not been left bare before. The habit of trust grows by repetition. The lamp, the book, the night ritual form a small loop that trains the nervous system. Begin each evening with the same 3 acts, a short breath practice, a naming of one worry, and a small concrete step that rehomes the worry. Over weeks, the system learns a new default. Worry no longer always drives the wheel. The heart learns to come into a harbor. There is also a tenderness in how trust deploys forgiveness. The two work together. Forgiveness frees space in the boat of the heart. Trust fills that space with calm. When old wounds are carried tightly, they make the hull creak. Letting go eases the craft. It is not necessary to forget. It is enough to stop reenacting the pain nightly. Keep the hands soft tonight. Put the fingers where they rest easily. Let the hands be the measure of the breath. Hands that relax. Tell the nervous system that danger is not present. The lamp's light feels warmer when the hands are open. The scene in the story becomes practical in the bedside room. A soft hand creates a quiet that the body recognizes. If sleep begins to come, allow it. The stages of sleep are a mercy shaped in part by trust. The body knows to lay down its posture when the mind has stopped rehearsing fear. The simplest offerings of trust are to say, one short line in the mind, I will place this here for tonight. Do not use long sentences. Keep the thought a pebble, not a boulder. Pebbles sink quickly into the pool. If wakefulness stays, remain companionable with it. Do not beat the mind for its restlessness. Bring it back gently to the breathing or to the lighthouse image. Return again and again without harshness. This evening work is not a single revolution, but a repeated, calm circling. I read the story aloud with a slow cadence, on purpose. The words themselves become a kind of anchor. Listening to the rhythm helps the body remember the cadence of safety. The reading is not advice, shouted from a balcony. It is a neighbor's hand on the back, steady and warm. Before I close this part, try a short practice with me. Breathe in slowly. Hold for a gentle moment. Name one fear in a single word. Place that word into an imagined palm. Breathe out and picture the water surface smoothing. Repeat, if necessary. Keep the movement small. Let the image be enough to steady the chest. Allow a small easing to happen. Trust sometimes looks like the simplest act, closing the eyes and trusting the bed to hold the weight. It is not trivial. Small actions repeat into large habit. Over time, the practice changes how the body meets night. The storm still rages elsewhere. The boat still rocks in other lives. Here, in this small space, the heart learns a different pattern. The room is quiet now. The lamp throws its familiar circle. The book rests open. The image of the boat and the calming presence remains near. It does not demand you to stop being cautious. It invites a habit of choosing a steady presence over an endless rehearsal of fear. The choice is small. The effect is wide. When I close the book, I leave this thought with you. Trust is a practice, as much as a belief. Begin with one small act tonight. Place one worry into the gentle hand. Breathe and imagine the sea smoothing. Repeat tomorrow. Let the habit grow. Let the calm become a companion. I will read more in the next part. We will move from the sea to a different image of the heart. We will sit with a gentle and humble heart that invites rest. For now, keep the lamp near and the breath even. Allow trust to be a small, nightly practice. Let its quietness do its work. Rest in that steadiness for a while. When the next page opens, the voice will be here, gentle and patient, to keep watch with you. I turn the page with the same careful hand. The lamp narrows its circle. The room listens. I settle into a teaching that breathes quiet simplicity and spiritual richness. I read Matthew's line about keeping treasures where moth and rust do not reach. I speak it softly, as an image, not a test. Simplicity is not scarcity. It is clarity. It is choosing less so silence can grow. Tonight, I invite a small experiment in the imagination. Picture a chest. It is old wood, worn smooth by palms. One side of the chest holds many trinkets. They clink and jostle. They catch the light and make noise. The other side is a patch of soft velvet. In that soft patch rests a single warm thing. It glows faintly. The two halves show a contrast. The loud places make the room restless. The velvet place holds steady light. Treasure in heaven sounds like a faraway phrase. I bring it close. The teaching means the small things of life that build inner steadiness. A short prayer offered without show. A hand given to steady a neighbor. An apology without self-justification. A forgiveness that is private and concrete. A night of honest rest instead of a sleepless performance. These are not grand trophies. They are quiet weights that make the heart settle, not the chest contract. I read this passage like a nurse tucks a blanket. The idea is practical. It asks for simple choosing. It asks for less pageantry. It asks for a heart practiced in small giving. Consider the way a small seed becomes a tree. The seed lies in the dark. It does not need the whole field. It needs a single patch of soil and a careful breath of rain. Spiritual richness grows the same way, by steady, small acts. Take a moment. Breathe in, breathe out. Think of one small act that felt like planting a seed this week. Maybe a short text sent at a thin hour. Maybe a meal shared. Maybe a small mercy extended when the impulse was to retaliate. See that act like a seed cupped in the palm. Feel the shape of it. Do not catalogue everything. Hold only one seed. The world teaches us to measure wealth by noise. Money clatters. Possessions demand attention. They fill closets and drawers and thought. Spiritual treasure is quieter. It asks little of the eye. It asks more of the hand that will do the small work. It is hidden, like a pressed leaf between pages. It keeps its life in the dark. I ask for a small choice tonight. Choose what to store. It does not require a ceremony. It does not require confession before a crowd. Sit with the lamp. Decide on one inward pledge. It might be speak kindness first. It might be offer silence without judgment. It might be let one grudge go until morning. Keep it simple. Keep it doable. A small practice helps. Imagine a soft pouch tied to the headboard. Each night, place something inside that pouch. The object is not literal. It is a small memory of an act. You lay the memory inside like a thread wound onto a spool. The spool grows heavier with time, but its weight is a gentle weight. It steadies the bed when burdens press the chest in the deep dark. Reach into the pouch and feel the spool. Remember a mercy done. The heart remembers how to be generous in small ways. That memory itself becomes a treasure. Notice how the chest eases when the mind practices this. The habit redraws the border between urgency and kindness. The inner ledger loses its sharp angles. The night becomes more porous to softness. Mercy collects like dew on a leaf. It does not demand attention. It simply rests where light allows. I read Matthew not to make doctrine heavy. I read to offer a simple lens. The lens turns attention away from accumulation of things toward accumulation of mercy. The stockpile I praise in the night is not goods. It is quiet acts that prove a gentler life is possible. A gentle exercise now. Lie small within the bed. Rest the hands on the belly. Breathe slowly. Think of 3 short phrases that name the quiet treasures already present in this life. They must be small. A cup that was warm this afternoon. A hand that steadied yours. A brief laugh shared. Name them with soft focus. Let each name be a pebble you add to the pouch. Do not judge the list. Let the items be as they are. The practice trains the eye to notice richness where it is least flashy. Simplicity also looks like choosing fewer tasks, so that attention deepens on the few that matter. The mind often believes in power gained by doing more. The teaching suggests a different power. It points to depth rather than width. To plant a small garden. One tends a few plants with care. 100 neglected sprouts never become a harvest. A few tended ones feed with abundance. I describe a scene to keep the image close. An evening kitchen, 1 pot on the stove, 2 chairs at a small table, a candle. Not for show, but for light. Food simple and honest. Conversation short and true. The scene does not impress. It comforts. The household keeps a steady rhythm. The people there practice the same small mercies that Matthew commends. Their treasure is not counted on a ledger. It appears in steady hands and eyes that know how to return to the small, necessary tasks. You may fear that living simply means losing dignity or ambition. That is not the point. Simplicity is not resignation. It is a deliberate narrowing. It means choosing what matters enough to protect. The aim is to refuse the distraction of noise. Choose one gentle ambition for the soul this week. It could be patience, or listening more, or showing up once without pretending. Wrap that single aim as you would a small gift. Set it within reach of the lamp. The invisible qualities that count as spiritual treasure have a peculiar generosity. They ask less of the wallet and more of the attention. They require presence, not performance. They demand a willingness to be ordinary in a holy way. A small patience kept in a traffic line, a brief apology made quickly, a listening ear that does not interrupt. These are the coins of heavenly wealth. In the quiet teaching, I speak also about letting go of comparison. Much of the noise of accumulation is driven by looking at others. Comparison wages a slow theft. It steals contentment. It turns daylight into competition. Tonight, try a small counteraction. When the mind reaches to compare, imagine closing a window. Imagine a curtain drawn. Inside, the room keeps what it needs. Outside, the street can be as loud as it likes. Inside, a single lamp is enough. This practice of inward economy changes how sleep arrives. When life simplifies, the mind does not drum constant inventories. The chest untenses. Rest comes more easily. The quiet treasures make a bed of gentleness in the spirit. They are not flashy, but their warmth is steady and true. I read to offer a ritual that unites simple living with nightly rest. Begin with a short pause before sleep. Lay the hand where it comforts. Think of one small act of mercy performed that day. Thank quietly for it. Imagine placing that act into a small, hidden bank. Name it as a deposit. The repetition does not require theology. It only grants the soul a record of kindness that outlasts the day. There is a practical edge to simple storing. The inner archive keeps a measure for hard nights. When conscience attacks with harshness, the bank of small goodness calls its balance. It is a gentle argument against despair. The record is not public. It needs no witness. It is a personal memory that steadies when memory would otherwise be weaponized. Tonight, consider a habit I find gentle and true. Keep a simple notebook by the lamp. Each night, write one sentence about a small mercy given or received. Make it short. Do this for a season of nights. Watch how the list grows. Look back after a little while. The list will be neither dramatic nor impressive. It will be a quiet testament. It will be a comfort on nights when the mind suggests scarcity in the soul. The teaching about storing treasure in heaven also means orienting desire. The heart forms itself around what it loves. If the eye keeps chasing glitter, the heart hardens. If the heart keeps returning to mercy, the habit of pity and tenderness grows. Desire is like a muscle. It strengthens in the direction it is used. Nightly practice trains desire towards spiritual delights rather than transient clamor. I keep the voice low as I say this. The practice is kind. It is patient. It does not require dramatic conversions. Small shifts accumulate. A lifetime of small deposits slowly alters the heart's bank. In the end, the house of the soul stores a quiet wealth. That wealth pays for abundant rest. Do one small thing to close this hour. Breathe in, breathe out. Think of one small treasure to place in the home of your heart tonight. Make it gentle, make it specific. Place it there with intention. Do not measure it. Do not parade it. Let it be a private offering. I will read again in the next part. We will hold this simplicity and let it deepen. We will speak of how small treasures shape speech and action in the gentle hours. For now, keep the lamp low, keep the hands soft. Let the soft wealth you have gathered warm the bed. Sleep with the knowledge that simple acts matter. Rest in that quiet abundance. When morning comes, the small treasure will be there, and the day will have been held by mercy. I lift the book and let the lamp lean its small circle over the page. The room listens. My voice is low. I read slowly. Tonight I rest on one simple line from Matthew. It says that when 2 or 3 gather in a certain name, that gathering itself is a place where presence dwells. The picture is quiet. It asks for small company. It asks for honest intention. This is not the kind of gathering that needs a stage. It does not ask for a crowd. A single lamp is enough. A single hand held in silence is enough. The promise centers on nearness. In the midst of a few, it reframes size. Great things can happen in small rooms. Think of a neighborhood bench at dusk. 2 neighbors sit spaced but steady. They speak little. One offers a short story about a trivial day. The other nods and hands over a cup of tea. The care in that exchange is not flashy. It is the kind of attention that builds trust. In Matthew's picture, the promise slides into such smallness. Presence is not proportional to numbers. It lives where people gather with honest hearts. I speak now of gatherings that are not in the same house. A screen can lie between hands. A voice can come through a wire. Even so, the same promise speaks across distance. A small group meeting over a late call. A single message placed in a chat while the night is quiet. A brief prayer sent in pixels at midnight. These acts form a circle too. The lamp in one room answers the lamp in another. The lamps make a line. When I read these lines aloud, I am thinking of the many ways people keep watch for one another. A short video call that lasts 5 minutes. A typed name in a message thinking of you. A shared silence on a live stream where many listen but only a few speak. Each is a kind of gathering. Each carries unseen blessing. Unseen blessings are the subtle things that are not declared in headlines. They are the small mercies that arrive without trumpets. A neighbor remembers an anniversary. A friend remembers to check in after an appointment. Someone sends a brief note that says, "I kept you in my prayers tonight." These are small currents that move under the visible life. They change the weather of the soul. The presence promised in Matthew does not depend on noise. It depends on intention. 2 people who gather in a cranky habit gain no more presence than a cold crowd. 2 people who gather with humility and hope create a place where mercy can rest. In this hour, think of a very small circle that matters. It could be 2 people you know well. It could be 3 who meet in an online room. It could be a family where a single lamp is left by a bedside, so that those who cannot sleep might send a brief word and feel tethered. Imagine this practice as a gentle ritual. Choose one small object to hold during the time of gathering. A smooth stone, a tiny bell, a scrap of cloth. Everyone who gathers, however distant, places the object near the light. The object becomes a token. It is not magic. It becomes a habit. Habit trains the nerves to recognize connection. Habit names a moment as shared. Even when voices do not fill the air, there is a tenderness in the words about being gathered. Presence is described as among them. It is intimate language. It suggests not only watching from the edges, but entering the room with the people gathered. That is a quiet kind of assurance. It is not loud salvation. It is close keeping. Sometimes gathering looks like a shared silence. A small group sits on a video call and simply breathes together for a few minutes. No one speaks. The breathing becomes the prayer. The network, invisible and thin, carries that calm across miles. I have watched the way a few matched breaths can flatten panic at its edges. The body relaxes under the impression of mutual attention. Other times the gathering is a chorus of small offering. Each person names one small need. Each person offers a single blessing. The pattern is brief. The effect is then more than the parts. The heart learns that it is not carrying its load alone. That is an unseen blessing that has a way of growing the courage to sleep well. The community also includes the ones who do not speak. They are present in the listening. Matthew's line does not require speaking ability or eloquence. It only requires presence in name and heart. That opens the door for the shy and the weary. Listening itself is a gathered act. A silent listener in an online room, breathing in the rhythm of the reader's words, is part of the gathering. That person is not less seen by the promise. Tonight, consider a small ritual for virtual gatherings that honors this promise. Before a call, tidy a tiny corner where the device sits. Turn on a lamp rather than a bright overhead. Place a small object near the screen. Take 3 slow breaths. Name one small thing inwardly that you would like held in that time. Then keep the tone soft. Let the minutes be narrow and honest rather than long and performative. Short intentional gatherings build stamina for care. There is power in naming presence among small groups because it reshapes loneliness. Loneliness often assumes distance equals absence. The scripture's thought overturns that distance does not mean abandonment. Abois, even faint, can make a hollow place feel occupied. A message that says simply, I am here, can shore up a night that otherwise would unspool into anxiety. The unseen blessings carried by community take many forms. Often they are practical. A table prepared by a friend when energy is low. A room offered for rest. A note that reads like a hand held out. Sometimes they are rarer. A surprising phone call just when tears were near. A dream later described that the other person had, in which some silent comfort was given. Such moments read like small lights in a dark house. I noticed that being gathered does not always involve agreement. People gather with different histories, different fears, different needs. The promise does not hinge on uniformity. It hinges on the shared petition that is not about winning an argument, but about presence. That changes the tone of community work. From debate to tending, it becomes possible to be near someone without trying to fix them in oneself. Community also multiplies prayer in ways that feel gentle. A few voices praying quietly for a name can create a field of attention that surrounds that need. I like to think of it as a soft current. It moves and warms what it touches. One can feel the benefit without measuring exactly how it worked. That is a humble kind of miracle. small and sufficient. Tonight, choose one modest act to be the lamp you offer tomorrow. Keep the promise short. Keep the plan practical. Carry the token if you have one. Let that lamp be a soft thing that you can hold without strain. Let the action be as simple as leaving a cup warmed, listening 5 minutes longer, or sending a single encouraging line. Before I move on, place a hand lightly over the chest. Breathe in, breathe out. Visualize the small light you intend to give. See it placed gently where it will warm. Let the image settle. Do not make a to-do list. Make one small, compassionate choice. Let it sit by the lamp like a resting thing. I will fold this thought into the next pages. When I return, we will walk into a gentle practice that makes kindness habitual. We will keep the pace slow. We will not demand perfection. We will celebrate the small lamps that keep the dark honest and less lonely. Rest now with that light in mind. Let the breath match the rhythm of giving and receiving. Let the night be soft. I will read again when you are ready. The lamp is a steady coin of light. The page opens. I settle my voice to the quiet. Tonight, I read a passage that reminds us of an intimate care. It says that nothing about you is missed. Even the smallest details belong to that care. The image is not meant to frighten. It is meant to comfort. Listen with soft ears. Imagine the small movements of the day. A sigh as the kettle warms. A crease at the corner of an envelope. A single hair out of place. Each small thing is noticed. The thought is tender. It says you are not a mistake in a jumbled world. You are kept in a pattern that has intention. This does not erase pain. It does not promise a tidy answer to every hurt. It does say that your life is not anonymous. The careful attention of a faithful presence can hold the things that feel trivial and the things that feel catastrophic with equal steadiness. The promise is not that sorrow will vanish. The promise is that sorrow will not be the last word. Breathe with me now. Fill the lungs slowly. Hold for a gentle second. Let the breath out like a soft tide. With each out-breath, imagine something small in the day, a grocery list, a short apology you meant to say, a corner of the room you always avoid. Place that small image into your mind, as if setting it on a table under the lamp. Each item is a piece of the map of your life. This presence knows each piece. The metaphor that sits with me is of a tailor at a late table. The tailor works by lamplight. Thread is thin. Each stitch matters. The tailor does not rush. The hands steady. A ruined seam becomes mended by patient attention. Your life could be thought of that way. There is a hand that tends the hem. It is not hurried. It is careful. Trusting this plan often looks like a small act rather than a grand decision. Tonight, try one small exercise. Pick a tiny worry that has kept returning. Name it in a single soft thought. Imagine lifting that worry like a scrap of cloth and handing it across a table to the waiting hands. Do not expect the hand to wave the problem away. Expect it to lay the piece in order, to smooth it, to fit it again into a wider garment. Notice how the body responds when the task is not carried alone. The most faithful care does not always change outward circumstance. It reshapes the interior. A heart can sit more quietly even when the same difficulties remain. The hand that knows the smallest things can give courage to meet tomorrow without the frantic urge to fix everything tonight. When fear pushes forward, practice a small return. Place a palm on the chest. Feel the rise and fall. Each breath is a proof that something holds you. Say inwardly one short sentence, "This is known." Make it private and simple. Repeat it 3 times. The words train the ear to hear a steady presence rather than the loud, panicked thoughts that scope the horizon for threats. Purpose often looks different than imagined. It can arrive as gentle nudges, a small interest in a friend's story, a willingness to return a call, a brief note left on a kitchen table. These acts do not need to be dramatic to be purposeful. They are quiet signs that life moves toward goodness in small steps. If a plan feels large or vague, break it into the smallest possible next step. The next thing can usually be done without frenzy. There is wisdom in remembering that plans unfold. Sunlight does not jump from dawn to noon in a single instant. It rises slowly. The deliberate pace invites patience. When the mind insists on immediate comprehension of every pattern, return to a smaller pace. A single good breath. A short prayer said simply. A tiny action of care. These are enough for the present hour. I read to you before bed because the rhythm of words helps the mind learn a different pace. Hearing the text about intimate attention becomes a small lesson in trust. The cadence is slow. The single phrase gives room for thought to settle. You are listening in the company of a voice that will return again. Trust also has boundaries. And those boundaries are a kindness. Trust does not require recklessness. It asks for prudence. It lets you protect what must be guarded. Think of the gardener who plants and also fences against the deer. The fence does not contradict hope for growth. It protects the fragile shoots so that they may flourish under care. Keep sensible limits. Trust and wisdom walk together. If worry returns as a habit, create a small ritual to meet it. Place a sheet of paper beside the lamp. Write a single line tomorrow's single task. Fold the paper and tuck it under the pillow or beside the bed. The motion says to the mind, I will do what I can tomorrow. Tonight I will rest. The ritual is tiny. Its effect is real because it trains the brain to stop rehearsing every possible future scenario. Sometimes the plan we trust looks like a narrow path. It will ask for patience. It will ask for tiny obedience. A day at a time, the steps are small and often unremarkable. Walking them faithfully becomes its own kind of faithfulness. The feeling of being held grows slowly but reliably. If longing for clarity grows loud, be tender with that longing. It is human to want a full map. Yet mapeless trust has value too. Let the night hold the mystery. Let the mystery be a quiet companion rather than an enemy. The breath is enough for this hour. The lamp is enough for this page. The presence that knows you is enough for tonight. Before I turn the page, choose one small thing you believe this caring presence knows. It can be a name, a fear, a wish, a small joy. Say it in the mind and imagine setting it in the lap of that steady hand. Feel the release that comes with the action. Rest, knowing that even the tiniest detail of life is watched with tenderness. The room is very still. The book closes for a moment, then opens again. I feel how the reading turns outward. After trust, the next gentle step is service. Service is not an obligation heavy with performance. It is a soft form of encouragement. Small acts become signals that someone sees another and cares. Consider the simple ways to help: a warm cup left at a door, an umbrella offered without comment on a grey day, a short message that says, "You are remembered." These acts do not rescue whole lives. They do a different work. They shore up the small mornings. They remind people that they are not carrying the night alone. Service, as encouragement, has a twin nature. It helps others. It also helps the one who gives. Giving that is measured and kind ripples back into calm. A hand that helps can be steadier at night. The small giving shifts anxiety toward action. It offers a tangible response to worry, instead of the exhausting loop of thought that has no outlet. Begin with a tiny plan. Choose one small act to do tomorrow. Make it specific and easy. Perhaps make an extra portion of soup. Perhaps sweep a short path for a neighbor. Perhaps send a brief note to someone whose week was hard. The act must be small enough to keep without strain. The point is repetition. Tiny acts, repeated, become a pattern of mercy. A few practical ideas help make service gentle. Keep a small basket of things near the door, a pair of gloves, a spare scarf, a plain note card. When the chance arises, take one thing and offer it quietly. Another useful habit is listening without solving. Many sore knots of life do not want immediate repair. They want a patient ear. Practice a breathing match. If the other breathes slowly, match that pace. If the breath is sharp and quick, breathe with the person and let the rhythm calm together. Boundaries matter in service. Being helpful does not mean erasing safety. The one who gives must remain whole. Cette clear limite. A kind refusal can be luminous. It honors both parties. Saying no to an imposition preserves capacity to offer meaningful help where it is truly possible. Service also invites creativity. The smallest gifts sometimes mean the most because they are unexpected. A single handwritten line can outlast a polished speech. A warm blanket left in a porch can change a night. The mind often thinks big gestures hold greater weight. In practice, small, consistent gestures create the larger pattern of care. Think of service as planting. A seed placed in the soil does not demand immediate proof. It waits. The gardener waters and then rests. The practice is patient. Encourage others not by performing heroics, but by showing up in ways that are sustainable and ordinary. When feeling uncertain about how to help, ask one simple internal question. What would make their next hour easier? Answer briefly and act. The hour-to-hour scale is often where practical mercy lives. Small relief in a near hour prevents panic from mounting into greater distress. Community is shaped by small acts. The neighbor who shovels snow, the friend who brings a meal after a hospital visit, the co-worker who covers a shift for a tired colleague. These are not dramatic, but they create a field of reliability. Over time, the field becomes a net that catches many small falls. Service also heals social distance. Many relationships fray because life grows busy. A small, regular effort to do a practical kindness repairs that fray. It is a soft way to practice love. Choose a small weekly habit. It could be a short call to an elderly relative. It could be dropping off bread at a friend's house on Saturdays. The habit itself conveys a steady attention. Avoid the temptation to measure worth by returns. Service that seeks immediate recognition loses its gentleness. Offer help without tallying applause. The practice of anonymous or humble giving trains the heart away from performance and toward compassion. That shift makes rest possible for both giver and receiver. There will be moments when serving requires courage. Sometimes help means speaking a kind truth. Sometimes it asks the giver to set a boundary that protects another from harm. These are careful acts. They are not showy. They are essentially neighborly. Approach them with calm and clarity. Ask for wisdom. Small prayer before a difficult act steadies the hand. Encouragement, through service, also encourages prayer. A short prayer before going out to help centers intention. It is a simple aligning of action with care. The prayer need not be long. A single sentence in the heart, "May this small act ease a night," is enough. The short prayer turns a mundane errand into a ministry. If fatigue is present, do not force grand service. Keep the acts small. They will still matter. A note of encouragement sent while the body rests can be as luminous as a long visit. Use whatever capacity exists. The consistency of small acts, not the scale, is the measure of faithful encouragement. As the lamp grows lower, think of one practical kindness you can do tomorrow. Keep it small and doable. Imagine the act performed. Picture the brief relief it brings. Hold the image for a slow breath. Let that picture be a quiet vow. Promise yourself this one small act so the mind can rest from rehearsing grand plans. Service becomes a way of life when repeated gently. It is not a list to complete. It is a posture to adopt. The posture looks like hands that are neither clenched nor empty. It looks like eyes that notice small need. It looks like feet that will go the short distance to help. Before I close tonight, choose a single person to hold gently in the mind. Think of one small, practical thing that would lighten their next day. Commit to it in a single breath. Do it without fanfare. The small movement will create a quiet change. You will both sleep a little easier. I lay the book down with care. The lamp keeps its circle. The breath slows. Trust remains. Service follows as a natural companion to trust. Both invite small steps, practiced nightly. When I return to the page, we will keep this slow pace. For now, rest in the knowledge that attention and kindness are never wasted. Let the quiet do its work. Let the small act you plan become the soft music that carries you into sleep. I open the page again and let the lamp rest its small circle on the lines. The room is quiet. The breath is slow. Tonight I sit with a teaching that turns our ordinary hands into a kind of prayer. It says the greatest among us are those who serve. The words are simple. They invite a life that moves outward. Service is not a duty that crushes. It is a practice that heals. When hands reach out, something inside loosens. a stiff yav softens, a tight chest eases. Helping another person changes the shape of the heart. It does not happen at once. It happens in small, steady acts. Think of a kitchen table where one person sets a plate for another. No fanfare, no speech needed. The act itself speaks. It says you are seen. You are held. That seeing, plain as it is, repairs things that words sometimes cannot. The repair is slow. It is also real. Service sometimes looks like practical chores. It looks like bringing a warm drink. It looks like fixing a leaky sink or knitting a simple scarf. These are not dramatic rescues. They are ordinary mercies that build a life. They remind the tired self that someone shares the load. Other times service looks like listening until the complaining stops. It sits without trying to solve. It offers a presence rather than advice. That kind of service requires patience. It requires an ability to be quiet and steady. The gift there is not cleverness. It is companionship. There is healing in the steady repetition of small kindnesses. A neighbor who sweeps a path each winter builds trust by inches. A friend who answers a short message on the worst day of the week keeps a fragile hope alive. These small, repeated gestures stitch life back together more often than a single grand act. Serving also brings joy. The joy is not loud. It is a gentle warmth that spreads from the chest. It arises when the hands move from obligation into delight. A simple meal shared can carry laughter. A brief walk with someone who needs company can shift a long day's heaviness into a memory that glows. Joy and healing are partners in service. When a hand steadies another's, the giver receives steadiness in return. A weary person who gives a cup of tea often finds the act returning some measure of peace. The movement is mutual. The practice of service creates a small economy of giving and receiving. No one keeps strict accounts. The balance arrives as a general softening. Service also reshapes identity. Pride loves public applause. Service asks for humility. It invites pride to sit down. In serving, status fadis. What matters is the person in front of the hands. This can feel awkward at first. The awkwardness is honest work. It breaks a brittle habit of measuring worth by achievements. It replaces it with the measure of mercy. There is power in serving quietly. The world often equates value with visibility. Small, unseen acts matter nonetheless. A warm coat left on a doorstep. An apology that is not announced. A meal delivered with no expectation of thanks. These are the slow languages of love. They teach a heart to be brave without making noise. Sometimes serving means standing with someone in a long sorrow. It means showing up again and again when the need is not dramatic. It means writing one short line each week. It means keeping a date to call and then calling. These small, faithful acts suggest endurance. They imply I will be here, not for a headline, for the slow work of being present. Healing through service can look like mending a broken thing. Repair a chair. Sew a button. Fix a computer that someone needs for a simple task. These minor repairs are not trivial. They restore function. They restore dignity. A fixed object helps the person who uses it feel able again. Repair can be both symbolic and practical. Service also meets grief in tender ways. When someone loses something dear, the world offers words. Better offers are steady meals and quiet errands. Replace the pressure of speeches with practical warmth. Bring an extra blanket. Keep a small schedule of tasks so the grieving person can take days without rising to tasks that embarrass their exhausted heart. There are times when service is a discipline more than inspiration. On tired mornings when the motive feels thin, set the hands to a small, kind action anyway. The body learns rhythms by repetition. The heart sometimes follows the body into generosity, even when the mind resists. A deliberate kindness given on low fuel often becomes the seed of true warmth. Community grows in the soil of mutual service. One household's small habit of caring spills into the street. A church kitchen, a neighborhood pantry, a shared garden. These places train hands to offer and to receive. The practice of mutuality prevents loneliness. It creates an ordinary safety net made of people who do not perform for awards but who simply care. Serving also involves clear boundaries. Giving must not be a way to exhaust oneself. A person who burns out cannot continue to help. Wise service includes limit. A kind no can be honorable. It guards the capacity to continue to serve tomorrow. Protecting the self is part of faithful mercy. There is delight in shared work. When a few people gather to prepare food or to mend a roof, conversation drops into a soft, honest rhythm. The burden is lighter. Laughter arrives at odd moments. Eyes find one another. The shared labor becomes a kind of worship. Hands working together make a different kind of prayer. As I read these passages at night, I encourage one small habit. Choose one small act of service to keep tomorrow. Make it specific and small. A cup warmed for a neighbor. A short listen to a friend's call. A single errand done for someone who would otherwise go without. Keep the promise doable. Keep it gentle. The habit matters more than the scale. Now I turn the page toward another quiet assurance. The reading holds again a promise that shapes the act of serving. It says that the one who taught us to kneel beside the weary promises to be with us. The presence is steady. It is not a dramatic eruption. It is a quiet companionship through the nights and the days. This promise changes how service feels. When hands reach out, they do so knowing they are not alone in the doing. The presence that accompanies the service is like a second pair of hands at the back of the chair. It steadies. It encourages. It does not remove the responsibility, but it makes the work lighter. Reflect on this service done in the knowledge of constant presence becomes less about proving worth and more about joining in a larger purpose. The act of helping is therefore an offering and a receiving at once. Giving becomes a way to participate in a care that is already moving in the world. The promise of presence does not erase risk. It does not pretend grief will vanish. Instead, it quietly sustains in the middle of risk. A person who steps into another's sorrow still feels sorrow, but they do not feel abandoned by the one who taught compassion. That steadiness is a kind of courage. At the bedside, I speak this into the hush. Let the thought sit like a warm hand. When the mind presses with fears of failing others, Bring the attention back to the breath and to the idea that presence accompanies effort. A single breath makes a difference. A single act becomes part of a wider care that has been promised. This companionship calls for small faithfulness. The promise supports living in small steps. It endorses the practice of doing what is before us, without needing to control whole outcomes. The life of service becomes a series of small trusts. Each trust is a stitch in a garment none of us could make alone. Hold a brief image now. A lamp at the bedside. A pair of hands offering a cup. A presence that sits quietly in the room. Let that image be a faculty of rest for the night. When worry about tomorrow reaches in, fold it gently into that image. Imagine handing it across the table to the steady presence that listens and holds. I invite a simple exercise. Before sleep, choose one small person to serve the next day. Picture the act clearly. Imagine doing it with calm hands. Envision it as a small offering within the wider presence that watches over the world. Make no speech about greatness. Keep it private and true. As this hour wanes, make a small vow to return with the same steady rhythm. Promise one gentle act tomorrow. Rest the head with the knowledge that when kindness is offered, it is part of something larger. Let the promise of presence be the pillow under the tired heart. I close the page slowly. The lamp throws one last soft pool of light. The voice lowers. Rest is near. Let small service and the promise of near presence be the last things on the mind before sleep. They will sit like a watchful hand through the night, steady and warm. When I return, we will open again with the same quiet care. For now, breathe and let mercy keep the hours. I turn the page and let my hand rest on the margin. The lamp throws a steady ring of light. The room breathes with the slow hush of night. I settle my voice into a low, even tone. Tonight I hold a single, quiet thought. You are not alone. I read the text aloud in the way I always do. I do not rush. I do not explain every line. I let the meaning slow down so it can be carried into the bones. The passage I read speaks about a presence that keeps company. It speaks of a steady companion who walks beside the weary. I do not shout that presence. I only describe it, like a map handed across the bedside table. Imagine a companion who does not compete with your sleep. The companion does not demand answers. It sits at the edge of the bed with a soft lamp. Sometimes it only breathes. The breathing matches yours. When you inhale, the companion's breath rises a hair later. When you exhale, the companion lets out a soft easing. The timing is simple and sure. It is not magic. It is a steady nearness. I tell the story as a neighbor. I am not distant. I sit here with the lamp dimmed. The voice that reads the page is low and patient. I offer the lines as one might offer a cup of warm water. Take it slowly. Taste the kindness. Let it spread into the throat. There are nights when presence feels thin. The room feels like a wide field. The mind is a loud animal. On those nights, the notion of someone nearby can look like a polite fiction. I do not argue with that doubt. Doubt has its reasons. Instead, I invite a small experiment. Place one palm on the chest Feel the warmth. Let that touch be a tiny signal. The skin remembers contact, even when the rest of the body has turned away. Keep the palm there for 3 slow breaths. On the first in-breath, say gently, "I notice." On the second, say, "I am not alone." On the third, breathe without words. The exercise is short. Practice gives it weight. Presence often arrives in ways that do not shout. A sudden peace in the jaw. A neighbor sending an unexpected message. A small thought that eases the corner of the mind. These are the footprints of care. They do not always look like miracles. They look like ordinary care, arriving at an ordinary hour. I tell you, a small picture I keep. It is a room with 2 lamps. One sits by the bed. The other sits across town in another house. The 2 lamps are not the same light. They do not need to be. One answers the other not with words, but with steadiness. At night, the lamps flicker and hold their glow. That pattern comforts a restless child or an anxious adult. The lamps keep each other company, like people who belong to the same small kindness. Sometimes presence is a hand on the small of the back when the path gets narrow. Sometimes it is a whispered encouragement that arrives not as a voice, but as an impulse to do the next right thing. The impulse may be to call a friend, to offer a brief apology, to straighten a picture frame. It is simple, and often it is enough. I read this part of the Bible not to furnish explanations. I read to steady the ear. I allow space between phrases, so that each image can sink when I pause. Let the silence fill the room like a soft cloth. If sleep comes in the middle of the reading, the voice will keep its rhythm. If the mind stays waking, stay with me in the hush. No performance is required. If there is a name on your heart tonight, think of it now. Hold it without drama. Place it gently into the circle of the lamp. You do not need to list reasons or arguments. You only need to offer the name. Imagine a hand taking that name and keeping it warm. The act is a small trust. Trust grows by repeating such small acts. I often remind myself that presence is practical. It does not only sit and watch, it moves in small mercy. Feed the hungry, warm a thin coat, stay a little longer on a phone call. These acts are ordinary embodiments of the same nearness the text describes. They do not require eloquence. They require hands. There will be moments when the heart asks for proof. The mind looks for evidence, as one might look for footprints in the mud. Proof is sometimes a long trail. Other times it is a single soft sign, a paused moment of unexpected kindness. A thought that circled back to you when you were low. A small answer that comes the morning after you asked for help. These are not always dramatic. They are enough. I speak of a promise too. It is a small promise, not trumpeted. The promise says that presence is constant. It does not abandon its post when storms arrive. It does not go away because the night is long or because the list of worries gets longer. The promise is not a magical guarantee that every trouble will vanish. It is a promise of company. You are watched with care. You are not lost in the dark. There is a practice that helps me accept this promise. Before sleep, I name 3 simple things, a small thing I am grateful for, a single need I ask to be held, and one small kindness I intend to offer tomorrow. I keep the list short. I do not make demands of the night. I simply place these 3 tokens on the bedside table of the heart. Gratitude gives shape to memory. Request hands over a worry. Intention prepares the muscles for kindness. Repeat with me in your mind if it helps. Name one small blessing tonight. Maybe it was a warm cup during the day. Maybe it was a brief smile that arrived when it felt impossible. Name one need and hand it across softly. Finally, think of one small thing to give tomorrow: a note, a short call, a brief visit. Keep the acts small. They fold into habit more easily. I read many lines that invite us to rest in such company. The language I choose is simple. The pace I keep is human. I do not lecture about rules. I tell stories about small mercies. The shape of the teaching is practical. It meets daily life where it is tired, messy, in need of warmth. If bitterness sits in the chest tonight, watch how the presence treats it. It does not shout at the bitterness. It looks at it with a steady face and allows the bitterness to be spoken and then let go. The process is gentle. One small letting go tonight loosens the next night. The habit of release becomes a kind of rest. I invite a short breathing practice. Now, breathe in slowly for 3 counts. Hold for 1 soft count. Breathe out long for 5 counts. Repeat 3 times with each exhale. Imagine lowering one small weight. It may be a list of tasks, a worn argument, a fear of failing. Notice how the shoulders drop a degree. Notice how the jaw unclenches. The body keeps memory of such easing. The story I read shows presence joining action. Mercy goes with reparations. It does not mean ignoring harm. It means attending to it with steady hands. Where repair is needed, presence offers tools. Where rest is needed, presence offers a soft place to lie down. In that way, comfort does not replace responsibility. It frames it. There are nights when the presence feels far. That happens to many of us. The habit then is not to force a rush of faith. The habit is to keep showing up. Keep the lamp lit. Keep the hand on the chest. Keep a short list by the pillow. Small, repeated acts teach the nervous system to settle. Team. The presence becomes more felt. As I read, I sometimes see my own smallness. I do not pretend to be steady all the time. I return to the same basic practices. I name a need. I hand it away. I keep a daily lamp. I tend friendships with small gestures. These simple routines shape a life. They are mundane, yes, but they are holy in the way they hold the ordinary. Think now of a simple image of companionship. A traveler on a quiet lane. Another traveler matches pace and walks beside. They do not speak much. Their feet fall together for a while. The act of walking beside is itself a promise. It is enough to steady the weary steps. Presence in the reading looks like that. If you care to, gather a small sign of comfort, perhaps a stone, a ribbon, a tiny cloth, and place it near your pillow. Let it be a token. When worry rises, touch the token. Let the token remind the hands that something gentle is near. The ritual is small. Its effect is familiar and true. Now bring to mind any person whose name you have held tonight. See them as lit by a small lantern. Imagine yourself offering that name into the lantern's light. Picture the light wrapping the name in warmth but not in forced solutions. The act of offering it changes the weight. It moves the worry from clenched grip to shared keeping. I will pause in the reading now. In the silence, keep breathing. If a prayer wants to rise, let it be brief. A single sentence in the heart is enough. Hold this, help this, keep this. The prayer need not be polished. It only needs to be honest. Very soon, I will offer a closing prayer. I will keep it short. I will keep it calm. It will be a blessing for the night and a handing over of small burdens. Before I speak, prepare in the way that feels right. Place a hand on the heart. Choose one name to include. Picture the lamp. Take a breath. When you are ready, rest the cheek on the pillow. Keep the eyes soft if they are open. If sleep calls, let it come. If wakefulness stays, remain with the hush. The prayer I will offer will be a final lantern. It will be gentle and brief. It will invite rest without demanding proofs. I close this part with a slow breath and a promise to read the quiet prayer next. For now, sit with the lamp and the companionable silence. Let the promise of steady presence settle into the bones. Let the breath lengthen. When I speak again, it will be in a voice made for sleep, to bless the night and to send the heart gently into rest. I lift the book one last time. The lamp keeps its quiet pool. The pages feel warm. My voice moves with the same slow care I have used all evening. I read the final lines as if tucking the room into its rest. The passage I choose speaks of gentleness that does not hurry. It speaks of a presence that attends to each life like a careful gardener. The words are small and human. They do not demand clever answers. They offer a hand to hold. Breathe and settle a little more. Let the breath lengthen. Inhale with calm. Exhale with release. With each cycle, the body becomes simpler. The mind quiets by degrees. The lamp's glow rests on a single phrase. It is enough, I remind myself, and tell you that watching is part of love. Watching is not a distant gaze. It is one who keeps station at the bedside. It notices the small signs of strain. It answers quiet requests. The assurance is not a lecture. It is steady keeping. Imagine that watching as a gentle presence in the room. Picture a soft light beyond the lamp. It moves without striking. It notices the curve of the shoulder. It notes the pace of the breath. It knows the names kept in the heart. Nothing is too small to be counted. If worry returns tonight, bring just one thing to the surface. A single name. One small difficulty. Keep it brief. Lay it beside the book as if placing a stone on a windowsill. The act of offering it changes how the weight sits. You feel a slight easing. A small space opens where sleep can arrive. I speak quietly because this hour is for gentleness. The passages I read all evening do not try to solve every mystery. They ask for one thing, a willingness to come as you are. That willingness is the first small step toward rest. There is a mercy that dwells at the edge of the heart. It is not dramatic. It is like someone who returns stoically to the same small kindness every day. Notice it. Let it steady your view of the night. Let it alter the posture of the hands. Community matters as much as the single hour. If this reading calms you, consider sharing it. Tell one other person about the lamp and the slow cadence. Read a few lines aloud at a different bedside. Invite a friend to sit with you for 20 minutes of quiet. Small gatherings multiply the same hush I keep here. They build a neighborhood of care. You do not need a building or a banner to carry this. A quiet circle around a kitchen table at dusk will do. A short phone message sent after work. A 2-minute prayer spoken before sleep. These are the bonds that build a community of peace. They are practical. They are real. When a few people keep such a habit, something changes. Days feel less like solitary islands. Nights appear threaded into a wider pattern. The practice gives permission to be tender with weakness. The small group becomes a shelter, not because of numbers, but because of faithful attendance. If you are moved, start with one simple offer. Invite someone to listen as you read for 10 minutes. Ask a neighbor if they would like a warm cup left at the door. Send a text that says, "You thought of them tonight." Do not wait for a perfect moment. Small invitations build a safe circle. I read the Bible to you tonight, the way a neighbor tells a story by the hearth. The words themselves are a companion. I do not claim to solve every doubt. I simply hold the lamp and read. The rhythm of language can be a salve. The cadence can reset the nervous system. There is a practical fold to this watching. The presence that keeps company watches over both small and large things. It notices the small acts of kindness. It remembers the unspoken regrets. It holds both without making them identical. You are not flattened into a single story. You are kept in many small ways. When the chest tightens with old complaints, do not fight the memory with reasoning. Invite it into a calm space. Let it be named. Then let it sit on the shelf for the night. This is not forgetting. This is a mindful placing that allows rest to return. I ask you, if it helps, to keep a tiny ritual at the bedside. It need not be ornate. A small folded note with one name, a pebble that marks a concern, a single line of thanks written on the margin of a page. These small signs become anchors. They teach the nervous system to stop rehearsing fear and to begin holding light. Children of all ages benefit from routine. If there is a child nearby, read the last sentence aloud with a slow voice and then pause. Let them hear the hush. Let the habit of simple, faithful words teach them how to rest. The rhythm of reading itself becomes a lamp for a life. I will say a short prayer now. I keep it plain. It is not a sermon. It is an honest conversation in the dark. I speak it as one who sits with you and who trusts that these small acts matter. I lift up a name of thanksgiving for the quiet. I hand over the small worries that have kept us awake. I ask for a calm that is not false. I ask for sleep that renews. I ask for a watching that keeps company through the night. Blessing falls not like a thunderbolt. but like a slow, warm rain. Let that rain soak slowly into the wounds. Rest is a form of hope. It trusts that the day's labors do not exhaust the possibility of mercy. It believes that the morning can carry strength anew. Hope does not need to shout. It needs to be practiced in small acts, a short breath, a small kindness, a faithful return to the bedside. If you feel urged to share this experience, do so with care. Offer the gift without pressure. Invite gently. A friend will say yes, another will decline. Both responses are acceptable. The aim is to nurture a circle where people come because they want to be sustained, not because they must prove themselves. When many come together in simple acts, the world around them changes in small ways. Food appears for the weary. A coat is left by a door for the cold. A message arrives at night to say you are remembered. These small things are the air of a people who live by mercy. I close the book slowly. The sound is soft. It is the sound that marks the end of a story. The lamp still shines. The circle of light remains. Do not rush to extinguish it if staying awake helps. Let the lamp be a companion until sleep claims the lids. Keep the breath steady. Let the shoulders soften. Rest the hands wherever they fall. Easy. If compassion wants to be practiced tomorrow, make one tiny plan. Keep it manageable. Small acts repeated matter far more than grand plans abandoned. I will return another night with the same low voice. I will read the same pages and the same gentle lessons. For now, the promise is this: you are watched. You are held. The presence that keeps company is constant, even when feelings shift. Trust the smallness of this promise. Let it be enough. One last image to hold a row of small lamps along a dark path. Each lamp is simple. Each lamp is tended by someone who chooses to stay awake just a little longer. Together, the lamps mark a way home. If you keep one, or pass one to a neighbor, the path becomes brighter for all. Rest now. Let the hush settle. Let the promise of keeping and watching fold you into sleep. May mercy greet the morning and meet each small step you take. May peace sit beside the pillow. May hope rise with the dawn. I close the lamp with a careful hand. The light shrinks to a soft memory. The book rests on the lap. My voice drops to a whisper in the mind. Sleep comes in its own time. When it arrives, may it be gentle. When it lingers, return to these small practices. We will keep watch again. Good night.